Hello, this LP3 training video is for the Promise Analysis Report. To access the Promise Analysis Report, you choose Reports, Management Reports, Promise Analysis. Promise Analysis will eventually be replacing Promise Made Broken Report. It has all the features of the Promise Made Broken and then additional features. So let's take a look at that. You first bring up the Promise Report. You have options for running the report as the promises made by all employees or a specific employee. And then additionally, whether or not the promise is just all accounts being open or closed, or PO or PL, just all promises that are made during a particular date range. And promises are not meant to really be made range-wise for more than about 31 days. Because a promise to pay happens within 31 days, and if they break it, a new promise or payment normally happens within 31 days. So keep in mind that the promise report is generally a 31-day maximum time period report to give you accurate data. Meaning if you go back 2 or 3 months, you're not going to have accurate data because it'll be the current promises and the current payments made on those promises. Anyway, so just options for additional loan status types. It's best to keep all employees and all status types. Then let's go ahead and see. Let's see what happens when we click on today, which is January 6th. What happens, what data information the promise report provides when you click on today's data. It will take a few seconds to process the report. So the date range and options above are relative to the promises due. So today was January 6th, and the calendar promises due window here, the table, is relative to calendar. So I chose today, and it's all the promises that were due today. They may have been made on different days, but they're all the promises that were due today, and there's 23 of them. So for today's date, if your employee went into a customer's account and tried to do collections on the customer, got a hold of the customer said, hey, I will come in and pay on January 6th, and those promises will show up here in promises due today because I chose January 6th. If I look at January 6th and I look at broken promises, well, promises today are not broken until tomorrow. So for today's date, if you look at today, it's today, there's never going to be any broken promises because they are in the future. Let's take a look at yesterday's date, which was the 5th, and it's a little bit more understandable. So yesterday, let's go ahead and run it for the 5th. So what happened yesterday is you had promises due. Just a second, the data pull up here. Just takes a second. Let's do quite a bit of processing. Okay. So yesterday you had promises due. There were 15 promises due yesterday. Well, since yesterday's day has already passed, the people that didn't come in to pay yesterday will show up in promises broken for yesterday. So of the 15 people that promised to pay on January 5th, we ran it for the 5th, 2 people did not come in to pay. So we have promises due for a calendar date or date range, and then we have promises broken for a calendar date or date range. It's much clearer to do a single day, but you could do the last 7 days. So who made promises to pay from December 31st through January 6th? Promises due during the calendar. Just a second, it'll give that count. 78 people had made promises to pay from the 31st of December through the January 6th. 78 people made promises to pay. Of those 78 people, as of yesterday, 6 did not come in to make a payment on their account. The promises broken are if the customer had a promise to pay and a payment was not made. So 6 of the 78 at this particular demo did not make their promise. Their promises. They broke their promises, for the date that they had made their promise in, and it was during this range. So the first two cards in the promise report are based on the date. So you change the date and the information in the promise due and the promise broken, and it takes about 8 to 10 seconds at this point to run. Work on getting that to speed up. It just has to do a lot of processing. So January 6th, the information for promises due, calendar date. So many people are due today. No people are broken their promise yet today, so there's no broken promise. That's based on the calendar. We have a total section here, and the totals is based on the promises due. So we had 23 promises to do today, and we didn't have any broken promises today. If we looked at the promise due broken summary for yesterday, it would show that 17 that were due and the 2 that were broken. It would show in the totals, just gives a total count by employee. This employee had this many due. This employee had this many due. This employee had this many broken. This employee had this many broken. It would show totals here for the top 2 cards. So we have 2 bottom cards, and they are promises still due today and all future promises including today. Let's talk about the promises still due today. No matter what date you select in the date range at the top, it's always going to give you a card called promises still due today. So we ran it for today, and we had 23 people that were due today. Since it's always going to give you who is still due today, of those 23 people, 21 people are still due for the day. That's so that you can come in promises, the new promise analysis report, come down here and quickly see how many people haven't come in to pay. Maybe it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we still got 21 people that made a promise to come in to pay. Why haven't they come in? Well, you might want to go and contact those people and say, hey, you made a promise to pay today, when are you going to be in? So what happens if one of these 21 customers comes in to pay? And let's take a look at account number 8433. We got 21 people today that have not made it in yet. So account 8433. Go ahead and bring up their account. Past due $178.66. Let's just go ahead and take a payment. $178.66. Okay. You can print the receipt. It's okay. So this particular account, we've made it a payment. This is one of the people that had promised to come in today. So go ahead and exit that record. Exit. Come back into promise analysis. Now, we had 21 people that were still due today. But if you come and you rerun the report for today, go ahead and run report. Again, at this point it takes around 8 to 10 seconds to run the report, just because of all the processing it has to do. Come down here, and now you can see that in the promises still due today, there's only 20 people. So this is a really, really good way, and this is new. We did not have promises still due today in our previous reports. You could see who was due today, but you couldn't see who had already come in to pay today. So as people come in and pay today, this promise is still due will get less and less and less until there are none. This is a really quick way to know who has and hasn't come in to pay that made a promise to pay today. With all reports, you can sort the columns. They're sortable. Everything is sortable in alphabetical or numerical order for dates. The notes section is not sortable. It did not work out to be sortable, but all other columns are sortable. When you choose a specific customer, you click inside here, you click shift, you can choose several customer names, several rows. It shows you how many are selected. We got 9 selected. Go ahead and hit command or control, and I can select others. 11 are selected. Whatever selected, when you hit print or PDF or CSV, will export those 11 only. Not everything, just what's selected. So all reports do the same thing. They also allow for search for columns. If you want to search for somebody's name, you can search for somebody's name or a name within the column, and only one Ruben was in there. So if you have a lot of records, the search will be valid. But there's only 11. There's let's see. Let's go ahead and take the selections off here. There's only 23 rows here. Obviously, no reason to search this particular column. But all reports have the same sorting and searching capabilities in printing, export, CSV. So we went over the first two, which are by date, promises due and promises broken. Then we went over the promises still due today, so it's always today's view, and as people come in to pay, they'll get less and less and less. Well, there was a need for one other card, and that's all future promises, including today. So regardless of what you select on the date above, regardless of what you select, promises still due today always shows today, the date you're on. All future promises are all the promises in your system. If there's a promise to pay and it's from today forward, today until the end of time, today 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, if one of the employees has made a promise to pay, it will be in all future promises, including today. So you see it's from today, which is January 6th, and then it will go to the 7th, 12th, 13th. The reason for this card is because, say you had an employee make a promise to pay on a customer that was unrealistic. A month out, 2 months out, 3, 4, 6 months out, or whatever amount of time. This is a way for you to audit from today forward all promises that are in your system so that you can see if the promise date or other items with the promise, and mainly the promise date, you can see that the promise date is a realistic promise date. Like right now is January 6th, but we do have promises to pay in here that are upwards of February. So yes, it's within a month, but you can quickly see as a supervisor or manager, hey, did my staff make a promise to pay and do a date that's too far out? That's not per what standards that we want for them to get the promises to pay in. So that's all future promises. Promises still due today, and all future promises, including today, always give you the information of the day you're on. They are not relative to the calendar like promises due calendar and promises broken calendar is. So this is the new promise analysis report. What's new in the report obviously is the tools for being able to sort, search, and then see by employee ID and loan status, also with open POPLs. And primarily this is going to be for open loans. You're going to look at promises, but it will give all promises. And then down at the bottom, the promises still due today, that's new. Before you couldn't see if a promise was broken until the next day. Now you can see as they're clicking off after that people come in to pay. And then all future promises from today till the end of time, always showing when you come in. That is also new in the report. So thank you very much, and this was a Promise Analysis Report. Have a great day.